Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. How we doing today? Hope everyone's having a excellent Friday. Looking forward to the upcoming weekend. Hope you enjoyed the Stanley Cup final as well. Now it's over. I love to see the celebrations, man. At first, I was thinking, oh, Florida, they're just kind of dipping their toe in the water in terms of the celebration. They did this last year. Are they going to have the energy to do it again? Well, the answer is yes, man. They're having a time there in South Florida. So big shout out to the Florida Panthers, man. They're a fun team to watch. One of my favorite Stanley Cup winning teams, really, in recent memory, maybe going back to the Pittsburgh Penguin teams, the last team that I really enjoyed watching win as much as this group. I mean, you had Detroit, Colorado, LA, Chicago, Pittsburgh, all these different teams, Tampa Bay, who have had, multiple cup winning teams over the course of the last recent stretch. This is as good of a team as I've seen. Are they up there with Chicago? I don't know, but they're certainly there with LA. I think they're there with Tampa Bay. Um, Detroit may be a little bit of a different animal when you talk about the Fedorov and Yzerman led teams with Nick Lidstrom. Pittsburgh could be a little bit of a different animal with Crosby in his prime, with Geno Malkin in his prime, Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, that would be a hell of a series, man. I wish we could just go back and play these series. But this is as good of a team as we've seen. And I say team, man. They don't have a Crosby. They don't have a McDavid. They do have superstar players and a ton of elite talent on their roster. When you look at Reinhart and Barkov and Kachuk, Marchand, Bennett, I mean, it just goes down and down the line. But, Bennett, he's just a gamer. And, he understands the intensity and the level required to play at that level in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he's special. Now, he's going to get paid. He's going to get a lot of money. He deserves it. When you make an organization as much money as he's making the Florida Panthers and the rest of the guys, listen, they deserve to get paid. The salary cap's going to be going up. A player's value is what teams are willing to pay for their services. And you look at Sam Bennett, man, somebody, if it wasn't Florida, would pay him even more than what the Panthers are going to offer. Listen, the Panthers have the luxury of the state tax and all of that. So, say they pay him $8 million a year, or just over $8 million a year, that's the equivalent to $10.5, $11 million in a market like Toronto or somewhere else. So big shout out to Sam Bennett. Lots to get into. Scotty Gomez is going to join us on this edition of Hockey Sense. Looking forward to our conversation with him. He just took the job as the head coach of the Chicago Steel in the USHL. He was a head coach in the BCHL. Lots of stuff to get into with Scotty because we can talk NHL stuff with him too. But it's obvious this guy is putting in the work. And I give him a lot of credit, man, for what he's doing. The willingness to go to the BC League, now the USHL, learn how to be a head coach. You're involved in so many different areas of an organization when you coach at that level. You do a lot of the recruiting, you do a lot of the signing, you're involved with, a number of different things that prepare you for coaching at the next level. And, this guy played long enough. He had enough success as a player to where it's only a matter of time that he's going to be behind an NHL bench, certainly as an assistant coach. And then, we'll see what the future holds for Scotty Gomez. We'll talk to Jamal Mayers later about Jamie Compon. I'm looking forward to having Jamie back on the show in a few weeks. One of my favorite people in hockey, man. This guy has now won 4 Stanley Cups. You'd think he'd won more because he was with LA and Chicago. But he was only with LA for one of their Stanley Cups, and then he went and coached in the Western Hockey League as the head coach of the Portland Winterhawks before he joined Joel Quenneville and his staff in Chicago, winning a Stanley Cup with Joel Quenneville in Chicago. So that was 2. 3 last year in Florida, 4 this year in Florida. This guy's got 4 Stanley Cup rings. And I would never be surprised if Jamie Compon ended up back now in Anaheim or Southern California and back behind the bench with Joel Quenneville. They have such a tight relationship. His wife lives there. She stays there, I believe, during the season in Southern California with their dogs. So, it would make family sense. But I don't know how you leave Florida. I mean, we talk about Sam Bennett. How do you leave if you're Sam Bennett? How do you leave if you're Ekblad? How do you leave if you're Marchand? And, I know the idea is that Bill Zito came out and said he thinks he can keep all three of them, but we'll see how likely that is. I just don't know if you can keep all three of them, but we'll wait and see. Ekblad to me has always been the guy that I think would be willing to give a little bit of a hometown discount to stay. He's been there his entire career. He was a first overall pick with Florida. I just don't get the sense that he wants to go anywhere else. Marchand, this is his last kick at the can in terms of making significant money. And this is Sam Bennett's first real kick at the can in terms of making big, big, big money. But he deserves it. They all deserve it. This team has been real fun to watch. I love Marchand's Instagram last night, thanking all the teams that essentially gave Florida their player. So he thanked Buffalo for Reinhardt, thanked the Rangers for Mikkola, although St. Louis gave Mikkola to New York. I always liked Mikkola. Going back to his time here, participating in prospect camps, he was always on the radar, man. This guy played in your face. He could skate, had some offensive upside too when he was younger. Very, very aggressive player. And now to see him be a two-time Stanley Cup champion is great as well. So now it's time to turn our attention to the draft. I mean, the Blues have 3 picks in this coming draft, so it won't be a very busy draft in terms of selecting players, barring some trades where they acquire some extra picks. We'll see if they end up doing that. They're going to be here in St. Louis this year. There's going to be some news about some events taking place around the draft here in St. Louis for fans to get involved in. The Blues are going to have some other news coming out this week and next week as well, as they have some exciting announcements to make. So it's going to be a fun offseason here in St. Louis. Now, what do they end up doing now? They want to add a piece in their top 6. They would love to get a second-line center. Michael Granlund is the guy that I've been throwing out there for several weeks, even going back a few years back when he signed with the Nashville Predators. I know the Blues had interest in him back then, but I don't think the team was willing to go to a 3rd year or a 4th year. It was whatever he ended up signing with Nashville. And so the Predators got him back then. But Granlund's a guy who played wing with Dallas, but he played center with San Jose. I wanted to ask Jamal about Granlund because he did some games with San Jose this season, Jamal did, and get his take on Michael Granlund, but as a center. But we ran out of time there. But, you know, Granlund's a guy who brings a ton of speed, a lot of offense. He's 33 years old. He's going to try to get a 4th year now and try to get another 4-year deal. I mean, and he's going to make north of $5 million. So it's not going to be a cheap signing. Anyone out there who thinks you're going to get Michael Granlund for 4 or 4.5, it's unlikely. Now, Dallas, they were able to make a move yesterday with Seattle by sending Mason Marchment there. So, you know, that should open up some cap space. Enough to sign Granlund, I'm not so sure. They're going to have to move on from guys like Matt Dumba, Labushkin. There's a couple other players that they're looking to move. Robertson, does he end up staying? Word is they're going to bring back Jamie Benn, their captain, which makes sense. But with Ben, you can do a 35 and over bonus-laden contract. So that doesn't seem to be too challenging to sign. The Blues did that last season with Ryan Suter. You know, Ryan Suter met every single one of his bonuses. Every single one of his bonuses he got last year. So I think he ended up signing for what, like $775, and then walked away with like $3 million in salary because of all the bonuses he reached. Big shout out to Ryan Suter. Listen, I don't get the sense that he's going to play. I feel like this is it for Ryan Suter, although you just never know with this guy. But it's got to be the right fit. I don't see him coming back to St. Louis. It's probably unlikely to see that happen. Although you just never know. He would love to come back to St. Louis. But I think for Ryan Suter to play another season in the NHL, he's going to want to make sure that it's a good fit for he and his family. It's got to be the right fit. He's not just going to go sign anywhere. But if he can be somewhere close to the family where it makes sense, and then I think he would strongly consider it. I just don't know if he's going to have that option. So we'll see how that plays out with Ryan Suter. But Michael Granlund appears to be the most obvious of the options at the center position. If the Blues could get a John Tavares, I think that would be fantastic. But with Marner moving on, I think that opens the door now for Tavares to return back to Toronto. I think the idea coming into the season for Brad Treliving and company there in Toronto was, hey, we're not bringing back John Tavares. I think they had made that decision prior to the year. But the way things have played out now with Marner leaving, I think that opens the door now for Tavares to come back, although you just never know. I mean, I look at the Brock Nelson contract. He signed a 3-year deal of $7.5 million per season. And so what does that mean for John Tavares? You're going to sign less than what Brock Nelson signed for? You're 1 year older than Nelson. You've outproduced Nelson. So I don't know why he would agree to sign for less unless he just wants to stay in Toronto so bad. Some of these veteran guys, man, you get to his age, you get kids, you have families. You're just not looking to bounce around and move your family all around, especially when the kids are set up in their activities and their teams with their schools, friends, all of that. I think it just becomes more of a challenge just to pick up and go. We'll see how that plays out. Max Pacioretty, I ran into him last weekend at a youth hockey showcase in Chicago. He was coaching Team Detroit, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. I think he'd like to play another year for sure. But again, it's got to be the right fit to fit into the family dynamic. He's got like 4 or 5 kids. Pacioretty does. Good guy, though. How about this thing with Connor McDavid? This was interesting yesterday. And we talked to Jamal about it. I think Jamal is right. Listen, this was orchestrated in terms of what McDavid said publicly, basically leaving the door open to decide what he wants to do. He didn't commit himself to Edmonton. He didn't commit himself to leaving either. But sometimes you focus on what the player doesn't say versus what he does say. And what he didn't say was, hey, listen, this is the only place I want to be. I don't ever want to play anywhere else. He didn't say any of that. So I'm sure his agent was like, hey, listen, let's just put it out there and say, hey, I'm going to talk to my agent. We'll figure out what we're going to do. But I think a couple of things. I think he's letting the rest of the league know, hey, start preparing because I could become available. So if you want Connor McDavid, start doing your due diligence in terms of how you're going to make that happen. How are you going to fit him in? What type of money are you prepared to be able to offer a player like him? But it's also a message to Stan Bowman, the general manager, to say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm considering staying, but I'm also considering leaving. And if you want me to stay, then you got to do your part and you got to surround me with a Stanley Cup winning roster. Because that's the one thing about Edmonton. They just weren't good enough. They couldn't overcome an injury or two. They didn't have the depth to do that. I mean, people just celebrating and doing backwards cartwheels over Kasperi Kapanen. We've seen Kapanen, and we've seen this act from Kapanen before, where he goes to a new team, plays hard, plays well for a handful of games, gets a contract extension like he did here in St. Louis, got a big contract. I think he signed it with Toronto before he went to Pittsburgh. I don't think he got the 3-year deal that he signed for over $3 million per. I don't think he signed that with Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure he signed that with Toronto. But regardless, he played well enough to get that contract. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. They're looking to get rid of him. Comes to St. Louis. The Blues extend him, give him a 1-year deal of $1 million, and then they put him on waivers. There's a reason why he's on waivers. It's not like the Blues just know nothing. And, I mean, they just let a guy go. Although we've seen that before, you look at a guy like Forsling in Florida, the fact that this guy was put on waivers is just unbelievable to me. He's the best defender in the game. I know Slavin gets a lot of credit for it as well, and Slavin's up there with Carolina, but he's not Forsling. I mean, Forsling is just at a completely another level right now in terms of what he does. This guy does everything. He's got a great stick, skates, can move the puck, block shots, physical. Big fan of Forsling. So McDavid, we'll see what happens. But this is not an overreaction, I don't think, by the media or fans. When you're Connor McDavid and you're as disappointed as he is, he had the most disappointed look on his face. He's so upset, and I don't blame him. I mean, he knows he needs to win championships to secure his legacy as not one of the greatest talent or one of the most talented players to ever play, but to be considered among the top elite of the elite with the Gretzkys and the Crosbys. and the Bobby Orrs. Like, he's got to win championships. He has to. Otherwise, he will be considered a superstar who never won. And you can't put him in the same category as the Crosbys and the Gretzkys and the rest of the guys who belong in that category. I do think eventually he's going to win one. And, when you're going up against a team like Florida, who I think is one of the best assembled rosters we've ever seen, you can't just point your finger at Connor McDavid. Losing Zach Hyman hurt them big time. Hurt him specifically, not having Hyman on his line to play with. But they just weren't the same team the second half of the series. They did some stupid stuff too. You had Jake Wallman spraying his water bottle and doing stupid stuff. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers just completely fell apart, I think. Even though they were able to come back and win a game after they got destroyed. They just didn't have it. The maturity, I think, necessary to win right now. So we'll see what happens. I wonder what Leon Draisaitl's thinking, though. If you're Leon Draisaitl and you signed there for 8 years and all of a sudden McDavid leaves, not that Draisaitl isn't capable of leading the team to a championship. Wouldn't that be something if McDavid leaves, Edmonton wins a cup without Connor McDavid with Leon Draisaitl as the captain? I mean, that would just be insane if that were to happen. So we'll see. In terms of some other Blues news, I know people are focused on the no trade clause that kicks in for Jordan Kyrou on July 1st. I don't see the Blues trading Jordan Kyrou. He's coming off his best season as an NHL player. The cap is going up. He makes just over $8 million for a guy who has 3 consecutive seasons of 30-plus goals. He's going to get to 40 at some point, you would think. I just don't think the time to move him is now. You're already looking for one top 6 guy. Now you'd have to find another. If you move on from a player who produces at the rate of a Jordan Kyrou, you've got to get that type of return coming back the other way. You've got to get that type of production coming back the other way. You've got to get a 30-goal scorer coming back. You got to replace those goals. Listen, Kyrou's not the perfect player. He's not going to have the angry face. He's not going to win every battle in the corner. But if he gives you what he gave you last season, I think people would take that. Still scored some goals in the playoffs. We had Doug Armstrong on the show a few weeks ago. What did he say about Kyrou? Where did he score his last goal against Winnipeg? Near the blue paint? Wasn't he near the blue paint when he took a stick in the face when Braden Shen scored a goal earlier in the series? I mean, this guy has made some strides. You have to look at it for what it is. But he's a dynamic player. I say the same thing about Mitch Marner. I know people criticize Marner because of his lack of playoff success as a team, but when you have that many soft players collectively playing together and expecting them to be able to win as a group, it's just not realistic. But if you can add some players who have a different type of skill set, different level of compete, and then now you add Marner to the mix with that group, like say he were to go to Vegas or wherever he goes, he can still be a great player. He can still put up close to 100 points. But his weaknesses, they won't be nearly as exposed as maybe as they were in Toronto because of the way the team is built. So we'll see how that plays out. I do think the Blues would maybe consider a right shot D-man. I mean, you can go a couple different directions with it. You could look to go out and get a proven player who you can insert into the lineup and have a integral part of the be an integral piece of the team right now, have some serious responsibility. A guy like Ekblad would come to mind. I don't know if you're going to be able to get Ekblad to come here to St. Louis, but do you go that route? Do you try to find a call-up guy who you sign to a one-way and who, if you need to go down to the minors to get him, then you can do that? Who's the guy the Blues had a couple of years ago? Good skating defenseman, man. Why am I forgetting? Swedish, I believe. This is going to drive me crazy. But I'm going to find his name for you. But, I mean, this guy was a good call-up defenseman. So in a pinch, when you needed a guy to come up and play, Kyle Rosen, Swede, played last season in the American League, but he was a guy who you could call up. He could give you some games. So do they look for a player like that, or do they look to bring in a player that they can plug into their top four? You'd have to move on from a guy like Falk in order to make that happen. Hasn't been a whole lot of talk about guys waiving no trade clauses and whatnot. I think if you can find another forward and you can push Shen down to your third line center, you're in a great spot, or even slide him over to the wing if necessary. But the problem is when you get a guy like Shen on your bottom six, he doesn't kill penalties. So he's got to play the power play still, really, to pay a guy $6.5 million and have him be on your third line. You got to find an additional role for him, obviously, so he can get the minutes that you want him to have. And again, it's tough when your bottom six guys don't kill penalties. But in the case of Shen, that's what you'd be dealing with. But again, he can play the power play, be on that second unit. Nick Leddy, I would think, would waive. Actually, he doesn't even have a no trade. I think Nick Leddy, I was talking to somebody close to him yesterday. I believe on July 1st, his no trade goes away for Nick Leddy. Somebody can fact check that for me, but if his agent doesn't know that, then that would be a problem. But apparently his no trade clause goes away on July 1st. So if the Blues want to move him, they'll be able to do so without him having to, approve the deal. Although I think if you were to ask Nick Leddy right now, that he would probably be okay leaving to go be a 5 or a 6 somewhere else. It's interesting because coming into last season, I don't think the Blues had any intention of this past year being Leddy's final season in St. Louis. I mean, he had played so well the year before that I think coming into last season, they were thinking, hey, this guy's going to be here, maybe even get another contract beyond this coming season. But he had a real weird injury, man. This guy dealt with a nerve issue in his neck, where, from what I understand, there are muscles in his body that were affected by that nerve injury that have never been able to rehabilitate itself. So he's lost some strength there. It's really had an impact on his overall health and strength. So you hope that he's doing well this offseason, he can get himself back to 100%. We're going to catch up with Dylan Holloway coming up soon, I think, here on Hockey Sense. Get a feel for how he's doing from a health standpoint. But again, listen, the Blues will look to do something. Evander Kane's a guy that Edmonton's going to move on from. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's a player that I would go hard after. But I will say this about Evander Kane. If you can get him on a 1-year deal, I think that's the best case scenario. Because he's going to be hungry, he's going to be committed, and all that type of stuff. And you know what you're going to pretty much get from him. I liked his game throughout the playoffs until the last several games. Once they needed more from him, it just kind of fell apart with Evander Kane. But again, he brings some toughness. He can score. I'm sure a lot of teams would have room for a guy like Evander Kane on a 1-year deal, especially at $5 million or whatever he makes. That's kind of a steal if he can give you what you need him to give you on a 82-game basis, assuming his health checks out and all of that. Trent Frederick, by the way, St. Louis kid. From what I understand, he's got an 8-year contract that's been agreed to with Edmonton. Obviously, when you give up a second-round pick for Frederick at the trade deadline at his age, I think the idea all along was for Edmonton to keep him beyond this season. So some people may look at an 8-year deal for Frederick and say, hey, that's crazy. I'm hearing it's going to be somewhere in the range of $4 million. May not get to 4, but somewhere close to that. But we've seen Frederick play at his best during his time in Boston. Man, this guy can be a really, really impactful player. He did not have a great playoff. I think he came out and even admitted that himself. He just couldn't really get his rhythm going. He wants to play center. Feels like he's best suited to play center, although he can play either wing too. But, he had that high ankle sprain just prior to the trade deadline. I know there was some concern that maybe he wouldn't even get dealt at the trade deadline, that teams would be wary of trading for him because of the injury. Ends up getting traded to Edmonton, great situation, becomes very close with McDavid, just the way they embraced him. And I think how that locker room dynamic is, it's very good as well, led by McDavid. So I think Frederick definitely has some interest in staying, and from what I understand, it's a done deal. They haven't announced it yet, so I don't know what they're trying to button up. But again, his play in the playoffs wasn't great. You just wonder how much of that had to do with his health. I think he scored 1 goal in the playoffs, had 3 points, maybe 4 points. But you just want to see, a guy like Frederick, you want to see play aggressive, be in your face, physical, all of that. But when you're not healthy, man, it's tough to get around the ice. So there's just no time to get healthy when your team goes to the Stanley Cup final. You play every other day, so it's hard to do. So we'll get an idea now as we move along. We'll figure out what the Blues are going to look to do. But I think those are the two positions to focus on. Right shot D, and if they can get a top 6 forward, specifically a center, not that many options out there. Guys are falling off the board. You got Duchesne signing. Kind of a crazy contract, to be honest with you. I mean, go look at Matt Duchene's numbers in the playoffs each of the last 2 seasons. I know he scored 30 goals in the regular season last year. And you can't just dismiss the regular season. You have to include that in your analysis. He did have 30 goals. But they've had 2 long runs in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think 19 games in the playoffs last season, he had 2 goals. And then this year, 18 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he had 1 goal. I mean, there's something to be said for guys who don't produce in the playoffs. There's a reason for it. It's not just bad luck. You're a 30-goal scorer in the regular season. You should be expected to score more than 1 goal in 18 games in the playoffs. Scotty Gomez coming up, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Stanley Cup winner, obviously. Former Calder Trophy winner, now a coach. First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week here on our Live from Half Coast Studios. Listen, give us a comment, man. I always love hearing from the people. We appreciate all the support we're getting on all our platforms with Hockey Sense, man. We appreciate that. The new Sunset Hills branch, have you checked that out? By now, First Community had, over 40 branches, locations in Missouri and Illinois? But now they're adding another new branch. They just added one to Sunset Hills, so check that out. Located at the intersection of South Lindbergh and West Watson Road. The Vacation Club account. I love this because summer's officially right around the corner. Actually, it's here. It's not around the corner. Family vacations, they're important. Listen, it's important to a family to go have a vacation. That's where you create your memories. You get away from everything, all the stress and the hassle of your day-to-day life. You can just get away from it and enjoy your family, connect as a family on a vacation. If you want to go on vacation now and then pay for it later, you can do that with a vacation loan at First Community. I mean, it's crazy. 7.9% rate, no annual fee. So the average credit card rate, if you were to put a vacation on your credit card, is like 28%? Now you can do this loan at 7.9%, and then you pay it off over the next year or so. You save up for your vacation and do all of that, and then now you have money waiting for you to go take your vacation. Call First Community. They'll give you some information on that. Ask about that vacation loan. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Find the location nearest you and download that app today. Many of their locations have drive-thrus. You don't even have to get out of your car. You've got curbside pickup if you want to take advantage of that as well. But download the app. They've got unbelievable deals on the app, only on the app. And that's where you get the best deals. They call them deals. They're so good that they actually call them steals on the app. Don't sleep on the party supplies. If you're having graduation parties or back-to-school parties, 4th of July parties, anything else that's coming up, summer barbecues, get everything you need over at Dirt Cheap. Best selection of beer, wine, and booze, too. I love it, man. They got everything. They've got cigars there, too. Discounts on Blues game days as well during the season. The Wallace family just flat out getting it done, man. Find a Dirt Cheap location near you and do it today. Blue Note Roofing, David Novak's going to be with us coming up very soon. Roofings, gutters, soffit, fascia, whatever it is you're looking for. 314-920-5713. David Novak joining us live in studio coming up later in the show. Looking forward to our conversation with David. Always great to have him in studio. Lordo's Diamonds. Listen, get that special someone something special in your life. They've been around for 70 years. That tells you all you need to know about Mike and Jimmy Lordo. Are you kidding me? These guys are the absolute best. You got Pat, you got everybody there. They know what they're doing. The customer service is unlike anything you'll receive anywhere. And I mean that because I'm a repeat customer. I'll never go anywhere else than Lordo's Diamonds. But if you walk in there with a $500,000 budget or a $500 budget, you will be treated the exact same by Mike and Jimmy. I promise you. Get in there today, right next to Truffles in the heart of Ladue, lordosdiamonds.com, 314-432-8008. If you're looking to pop the question, no better selection of engagement rings, no better experience and expertise than the people you're going to find there at Lordo's Diamonds. Great people. They're a part of St. Louis, and we appreciate everything they do for us here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. All right, let's take a break. Scotty Gomez, man, looking forward to this conversation. He joins me next here on Hockey Sense. We're live at the Half Coast Studios. Great to have you along, as always, our weekly tradition here, live from Half Coast. All right, Jamal Mayers back with us, as he is every single week at the Centene Community Ice Center. Great to see you as always, Jamal. And what'd you do last night? No hockey on television. Are you ready to move on into the summer, or do you miss not seeing hockey every single night?
I do. My favorite time of the year is the first round, and second round for that matter. Hockey every single night. The best brand of hockey. Just soaking it all up, enjoying it, watching it with my family and mostly crew. But it's disappointing. It goes down to the final. You only get to see it every other night or every 2 nights. So a little bit of a letdown in that regard. I had the NBA Game 6 on in the background. Didn't really watch it. It was a blowout.
No.
I probably will watch the last 5 minutes of Game 7. But that's about it. Compared to the NHL.
I know. I had the NBA game on as well. I got excited for it to be on because, you want to watch a sporting event. But, again, it wasn't a very close game. This Florida team, you've been around, you've seen great teams. I mean, you saw the great Detroit teams, obviously, the Colorado teams, the Chicago teams, which obviously you were a part of one of their championships. LA won a couple of Stanley Cups, which you're very familiar with. Tampa Bay, now the Florida Panthers. Where are you putting this team, Jamal, in comparison to some of the great Stanley Cup championship organizations we've seen over the last 20 years or so?
Yeah, I put them right up there with the Chicago Blackhawks and what the Pittsburgh Penguins of recent times were able to do. Tampa Bay right there. I think if they win 3 in a row, they eclipse all those amazing teams, those 4 teams within the last 20 years. To get there, then you don't even count the fact that they made it to the previous Cup final. So they did the 3 consecutive Cup finals. Just an amazing accomplishment for a team, and knowing how long and how difficult it is just to make it back there. To think that they have an opportunity if they keep. I don't think they're going to keep Marchand. I don't think Sam Bennett's going anywhere. And if they're able to keep him, I think they're going to run it back again one more time.
Yeah, Ekblad's another one who they've got to make a decision on. I get the sense that Ekblad will take less money to stay in comparison to some of the others. Although Bennett, obviously, if he were to leave, a team would have to pay him so much more money to really make up the difference that he's going to get paid anyway by Florida. It's not like they're going to lowball him. Marchand's interesting, Jamal. I've been watching this guy play for a long time, obviously, and I don't remember seeing him play this good and be this dynamic. I mean, he's walking guys left and right, and maybe I just didn't appreciate how great he was during his heyday there with Boston. But at 37 years of age, do you have to be careful? Do you have to pump the brakes in terms of how much commitment you're making to a player of that age?
Yes, you do. I think you saw what I think of as a small sample size. He will not be able to produce like that over the course of an 82-game season. That's just a fact. I would not pay him more than, I think he gets a 3rd year. I think coming into this, I would think 2 years, but based on how well he played, I think he gets 3 years. But that's with the idea that you don't know what you're getting in that 3rd year, but you're paying for an extra year, basically. So he's earned that. He's outplayed what he's played, how well he played extremely well. But that's probably about it for him. I don't see him getting more than that.
I would agree with you, but listen, he's earned the 3-year deal, like you said. Plus, his body's breaking down a little bit. He was injured at the time of the trade. Took us
Not
some time to get going.
not not to digress. Can we pump the tires of our buddy Jamie Kompong?
Listen, I talked to
I mean,
Jimmy yesterday, Jamal, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I put something on Twitter the night that they won. And listen, I've always kept in touch with Jamie, and obviously you had him as a coach on a couple of different occasions. Um, this guy's now won 4 Stanley Cups, Jamal. I mean, when do you start thinking about putting an assistant coach into the Hockey Hall of Fame?
uh, uh, has he not won more than that?
I think
He won it. He won it.
One
He
in
won it.
Chicago, one in L.A., and then now 2 in Florida.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's unbelievable resume. And no one works harder than Jamie. Everyone's wondering, well, how did they figure out the Edmonton Oilers power play? Jamie Kompong. How did they I'm not taking anything away from Paul Maurice, but I can assure you that Paul Maurice is a very smart man for a reason. And he's kept Jamie Kompong next to him for a reason. And can Jamie be a head coach? Absolutely. I think if I'm a GM, he's on my radar. He's a guy that I think can jump into that seat as early as next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think he deserves an opportunity to do that. He went back to junior, I believe, was a GM and a head coach. He could be a head coach. You look around the league. If I'm a GM, he's my next hire.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Because he has been a head coach. He went and coached the Portland Winterhawks a few years back. So he has some of that experience. I mean, you see a lot of guys who played who have jumped on a bench or jumped into coaching, but they've never been a head coach and they want to be head coaches. I just think there's something to be said for having that experience of being a head coach, no matter what level you're talking, specifically from the junior level on up. He did that. But I will say this about Jamie, and there's a reason why Hall of Fame coaches always want him by his side, as you said. Paul Maurice has taken him now to Winnipeg, and then obviously you look at him being there in Florida with him, which was important to Paul Maurice when he got the job. He wanted Jamie Kompong there with him. But his history that he had with Daryl Sutter, but Joel Quenneville as well here in St. Louis and then Chicago, I would not be surprised, Jamal, if Jamie ended up in Anaheim with Joel as soon as next season. He keeps his house in Southern California. His wife and dogs are in Southern California. I think from a family standpoint, it would make a lot of sense for him to be there, and he'd love to be back with Joel. Be hard for him to leave this Florida team, but I brought it up to Jamie, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and pay attention to what he does.
Yeah. Is he an associate coach with Florida? Because I think that distinction allows him to be paid appropriately. It also puts him in alignment with the head coach with a little bit more seniority. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but honestly, it's hard to leave a team that just won back-to-back. And I think, Sam Bennett's probably going to take a couple million less. I mean, I think he's worth $8 million.
Yeah.
Anything more than that is ridiculous. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a second-line center, but by the end of that contract, he will be a third-line center. You can't pay a third-line center $10 million. I don't care if it's 10 years from now or 8 years from now, 6 years from now. Tremendous player you need guys like him. I think the lesson for me for the National Hockey League watching these playoffs is you look at both Edmonton and Florida. They filled their third and fourth line with players that at some point in their career were top 6, but were willing, because of age or because of where they are in their careers, to play on the bottom 6 and add a little bit of grit to their game and sandpaper, but still have that skill set of being a top 6. So I think that you're going to see a lot of teams look to see character people that are getting into their early 30s. Where are they? Can they come in? Are they willing to be a third and fourth line guy? Those are who are guys are going to fill your, in my opinion, on winning teams, third and fourth line roles, not younger players. It's going to have to be veteran players. I understand it. You need to fold in younger players. I'm talking about winning teams. can't have their bottom six be younger players, in my opinion. You need to have veteran players that understand the role, understand the time, the score, the situation, and can give you production with 12 to 14 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, when the Blues won the cup, listen, they had a young Ivan Barbashev and young Oscar Sundqvist, but they had Alexander Steen with them too on that fourth line, who obviously had a ton of experience. And those guys, I think, evolved their game into becoming top six guys. Sundqvist now still a bottom six guy at this stage of his career, but it's interesting. Corey Perry, I mean, he plays everywhere, in Edmonton. He's lost 5 Stanley Cup final series in the last 6 years, Jamal. Like, it is great. We'll never see that again. I will sit there and say nobody will ever lose the Stanley Cup final 5 years in, over a 6 years span. They'll lose it 5 times. It's crazy, man. I almost feel bad for Corey Perry, even though he won back in 2007.
Well, I do too. It's actually the first time I felt bad that a team lost the Stanley Cup. Not because I wanted so badly for Edmonton to win. I just know how hard it is to get to that point. And I think it adds extra salt in the wound to lose to the same team in the same building back-to-back years. It gives you some pause and makes you understand and reflect why Connor McDavid had some cryptic responses in regard to what his future looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very telling to me. I thought he left the door open that it's not a certainty that he's going to remain with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, we'll get into that because I want to talk to you about that for sure. But Corey Perry, some people are saying, hey, he should go join Florida. Listen, he tried to do that before in Tampa Bay. They had won 2 years in a row. He joins the Lightning. They lose. And I heard from people, Jamal, how distraught he was and devastated he was after losing that Stanley Cup final with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He'd already lost with Dallas and Montreal the 2 previous years before that. Completely devastated. And then now back-to-back seasons with Edmonton. We may never see it. Hey, real quick, going back to Sam Bennett, anybody you can think of during the course of your career, Jamal, who just had it in the playoffs? They were a different player in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, Claude Lemieux obviously comes to mind, but is there anybody that you can think of that just had a different impact in terms of how they played in the playoffs versus the regular season?
Well, that's a tough question. Yeah, Joe Pavelski for me, Logan Couture, Dave Boland was a completely different player. He's probably the best example. You always thought there's more there. What's going on with Boley in the regular season? Very skilled, but and then in the playoffs, shut down their best centerman, chip in offensively. I don't know how he did it because he was a skinny kid with a little bit of a beer belly. And I'm like, people don't realize how good you are. You're way better than people realize. To do what you do with that body was impressive. So I definitely give him a lot of credit. And I think he was a special player and a guy that thrived in the playoffs and showed up big time around the playoff time.
Any comparisons to a Barkov and a Hossa?
Yes.
Barkov obviously playing center. Now, listen, McDavid had 1 goal in the Stanley Cup final. Barkov wasn't even on the ice. Lundell was. But between him and Forsling, I don't know who you say shut down Connor McDavid because McDavid just couldn't get it done. And I know hockey's different than basketball and whatnot, but, when you're the best player in the world, you got to find a way to carry your team, especially offensively. And he just couldn't find a way to find it in the offensive end of the ice, Jamal. Are you looking at Forsling? Are you looking at Barkov? Are you looking at both? How do you see it?
I think actually it's missing his right winger was more of the issue. I think it makes you realize, doing all that dirty work along the boards and the hunting on the forecheck. Connor had to do more of that, and that's not really his game. And I think that took away from his game offensively. And I think that was a big factor.
McDavid's comments yesterday, how did you take them? What do you think he's going to do?
For me, I think he's seriously contemplating. Well, player of his ilk doesn't say what he said without thought. I think that was a strategic move, either to push things forward to get a bigger number in Edmonton. But I think that was a conversation he had with Judd Moldover, his agent, to decide how are you going to respond. Let's leave the door open so the NHL knows, and now you know you've raised the ears of other GMs around the league that there is a possibility, and or you're creating an environment where now Edmonton is on the clock to get that number to 20% of the cap. Okay, and that means it's approaching 20 million per year. So either way, I think it's not a good sign for Edmonton Oiler fans. I think the door for the first time has been opened that he is contemplating not playing for the Edmonton Oilers. I think, in fact, if he won a Stanley Cup, I think it would be more likely that he does leave because he would feel like the job was complete.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he does. And I just hope, for the sake of him and his family and what he's done and meant to the Edmonton Oilers, that if he does choose to leave, that they look at it for history, as in, like, wow, we're so lucky to have that opportunity to watch him for 10 years. I'm okay that he leaves because he gave everything he had to the organization.
I know. It's also a message for Stan Bowman. Hey, listen, now you're on the clock. What are you going to do in free agency? What kind of players are you putting around me to make help
me goalie?
Yeah, to help me make a decision. And it's real quick. I like how people say, well, he's not going to leave. His wife is just starting a business in Edmonton. If he stays in Edmonton, it's not going to be because of his wife's job. It's going to be because of his job. I think that's what he's focused on. She could have success no matter what. She could open up a business anywhere, but I think his job is probably the priority. Great stuff, Jamal. I appreciate it, man. Who brings you each and every week here on Hockey Sense?
Well, Dobbs, and they're family-owned business. They've been around for so long, and what I love about them, it doesn't matter who you are. They'll get your car in, up, and fixing out. And it's not just tires. They're going to take care of you. They're going to make sure they service your car right. Doesn't matter what kind of car it is. Get in there. You'll get it in, up, fixing out. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
What's for dinner tonight?
Well, Barlino's, and we went there, I think, twice in 1 week. We had our banquet there for St. Joe, who was state champions this year, first time in 12 years. Maureen McFay's last season. So happy for Harper and her teammates. But where do we celebrate? Barlino's. They do it the best. All kinds of locations, new places as well to go there for great food, great people, great atmosphere. Another family-owned business.
No doubt about it. All right, Jamal. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. We'll see you later on today.
Take care.
All right, Scotty. So, you must really be invested in coaching, right? Because, for you to be in the BC League last year, now in the USHL, you've got the passion for it, obviously, right? What do you love most about coaching that has you really wanting to hunker down and do this now?
Well, I think first and foremost, the age group. This is definitely not, I think every job I've gotten, I've let them know that I'm not looking to, this is not a stepping stone to go to the NHL. I've been there. I was assistant coach for 2 years with the Islanders, but I think just coaching at this level with these kids and actually, or where they have to listen or they have no choice, so they're not going to play kind of thing. But I think just building the relationship there and actually seeing how you can do this. And I think I was, I got lucky, and the reason why I probably enjoyed this so much is that I got to do it with Mike Motto, one of my close friends, and he runs the D, I run the offense. He's got PK, I got power play. And I think, if you ask most of our players, all of them, they wouldn't know who the head coach was. That just shows you how much ego we don't have in this. This is all about the players. This is all about the kids' development. And mostly it's a lot of the lessons we learned from, from the Devils, from Lou Lamoriello. Let's face it, not everyone's going to make it. They don't need to know that. But at the same time, there's a lot of skills you're going to have to use once hockey's over with. The please, thank you. There's a piece of trash in the room, pick it up. Doesn't have to be the other guy. If the trash is full, don't do what we did as kids and start, filling it down and, take the thing out. So I'm kind of more hard on them in that. And at the same time, the message of these kids is, you got to have fun. You got to have fun doing this. This is all why we started playing hockey. I didn't have those parents that pressure was on. So I don't know what that's like. My dad was, I always tell people that my dad coached me in baseball, and that's where child services should have shown up, because if I didn't take the pitch to left field, but at hockey, I never got yelled at. I didn't even know if I had a bad game, whatever. I'm hanging out with my dad and And I think those are lessons that I've kind of passed to these parents and advisors. Like, don't, the wrong guy to, let the kids be. They're at an age where you guys done a great job, but at one point, kids have got to be on their own. They got to see what it's like. It's part of life. It's part of growing up. And I think that's been the fun part about this whole journey thing of coaching.
Yeah, and the kids, listen, they put pressure on themselves too because there's so much that's out there now, Scotty, with social media and whatnot. And kids now who are playing at your level in the USHL, they know who their contemporaries are, man. They've been playing against or with these kids since they were 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age. So they're constantly competing against one another. Now they want to get to the next level. They want to play, with the big time college or the best program they can play with. They're competing now with CHL players as well. So like, how do you see that type of, pressure, weighing, heavily on these kids?
Well, it's part of the gig. It's part of we all went through it, and it's how can you handle it? I mean, and that's where I think 'cause coaching it comes through in a big way. I mean, I had coaches that the confidence they gave me was something yeah, you're that good. You're that good. When you're getting told that every day and they're showing you how to do it. Yeah, there's ways to build these kids up. And there's ways to like, hey, my job is to make you've been on the fourth line, my job is to make you into the third liner. Same way, third liner, So there's a lot of confidence. There is, and that's part of life is competition. That's what we're here for. But now that I'm your coach, you can't really BS me or saying I do this and I do that. No, you don't. No, you don't. I watch you all day. That's my job. And you want to know someone that's gotten to that level. You're looking right at them. You're looking at Mike Model, and what you're doing it's not enough. And if you want to hear it, you got to hear it now. But now the best part is I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to do it because everyone's different. Well, in our era, that we all grew up, work hard. You got to play like this. There was no, hey, there's 23 guys that have different motivations, different characters. I was different. You guys know me. I was loosey goosey joking around. I wasn't even in the locker room. I'd be with the doctors just to make sure I wasn't bugging anyone. But like Bobby Holik says, as soon as it was time, I'll stab you in the throat just as well as any other guy. Like meaning, it was on. But I was allowed to be that way, and that's one thing I'd really learned. And we've talked about on your guys' show is that we were allowed to be ourselves with the Devils. As long as you bring it. And I think these kids got to realize that all right, here's your competition. You thought you were working hard, but now you're going to work smart and you're going to do even more because this is the thing. How bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. And now you got two guys that are there that have done it. So don't give me this BS with your advisors and the parents saying, oh, he's done this and that. No, I'm there. I'm there now because it's a 24/7. It's a it doesn't stop. You know that. But now it's also, it's a lot of mental too. I mean, like I said, really, like I tell my kids, like, if you guys all lined up and said, what would happen if you asked me not to yell at you on the ice? Because I'm pretty vocal, like kind of like a Nick Saban, but like, the kids were sitting there and no one raised their hand. I'm like, it's not a test. And one kid raises his hand. And he said, you'd probably get on us even more. And I was like, absolutely not. Now that I would know that you can't, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're all different. Mm-hmm. Maybe you got a different experience going on, but now I know that you can't, some guys don't want to get yelled at in front of their peers. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Your ass chewing is going to be behind closed doors though. I mean, because nothing's free, but that'd be something that I told my players, hey, that I get to know you. I get to know you better. But I don't know what I was a player that could get yelled at. I'd take that and I'll show you. But that's getting to know your players. That's getting to know these kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because like I said, we all grew up different. Maybe there's something in his past that he does shine away. And I got that from a Pat Riley book, and a Vince Lombardi, like those kind. I mean, it's like I tell my players, everything that I'm telling you is passed down, man. It ain't coming from me unless you want to know a good Mexican restaurant or something like that. I mean, that's different, but no, it's not. And that's when I think the kids and like in another rule we have is, I'm hard on you on the ice, but as soon as we step off that ice, it's over. Mm-hmm. Because none of you will know what it's like to have a coach that doesn't like you on the ice and doesn't like you off the ice. It's not fun. And I mean, and at this age level, I'm still a firm believer, like you got to have a great experience. You come to Chicago Steel, you're going to leave being like, well, that was a time in my life. And not only that, you're going to be a better hockey player because that's the goal.
Yeah, listen, the Steel have always been one of the top organizations in the USHL. Celebrini's come through there. A number of other great players have come through there. But how did this opportunity come about for you?
Well, it's kind of just brought up, Gorman, the old coach, was leaving in Notre Dame. They were looking for a spot. Name kind of got thrown out there. And yeah, I went through a interview process with the Chicago Blackhawks. Bought the steal. So it was a long process going through it. And basically from the get go, I just had I just had one not a request. It was almost like I can't do this job unless Mike Motto's coming with me, because I've been in situations where if you don't know the person, you don't know the people you're working for, it sometimes doesn't work.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's no ego towards this. And right away they were fine with it. We got to keep one of the other assistant coaches, Taylor Haskins, on, so that's great to show us the. But yeah, I just went through the process, and kind of maybe I do things a little different. Maybe you know, maybe I don't know what to say. I mean, maybe I'm not 24/7 video or this. I mean, my video is right here. This is going to show you on the ice. I mean, I get a lot of my stuff from Adam Oates, and but at the end of the day, it's I got one job, is make these kids better on and off the ice.
Yeah.
And I feel that after being in this position, yeah, it's not just you got to use this. This is where it's at. You got to understand that it's all bodies, angles, it's positioning, and I think they must have liked something I said, and there we are. We got hired, and now I'm in the USHL. And that's where it all should have started there. I mean, that was the whole goal, to go play in the USHL, but that's another story. I ended up in the BC League, but finally made it back.
Well, good, man. And well, of course they were going to hire you, but you were in the BC League, and now you're in the USHL. They've got that new facility coming up, right? I mean, you guys building a new facility? It looks unreal.
Oh, man. Dan Levy and Ryan Snyder took me to our headed flight down to Chicago, and the facility where the Chicago Blackhawks, it's right across from United Center. The practice facility where the Hawks and the Steel are going to have their. I mean, I've seen some first class places. We've been around, and this is right up there. I mean, just seeing the project and the layout. I mean, for junior hockey, it's unreal. It's right there in Chicago downtown. But play one more year here in Geneva. Enjoy it. But yeah, the new facilities, I mean, what's state of the art? I mean, it's just a great organization. It's always been the history of it. But now with the Hawks, and I mean, like I said, for junior hockey and the facilities we're gonna have, it's beyond state of the art, and yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Well, listen, I think when kids are going to make decisions, because now they have options to go to the CHL, they can stay in the USHL. I think coaching is going to be a huge part of the decision making. Who you playing for, organization, the facilities, as you mentioned. I mean, everything that comes along with that. I think that's what's going to lead to a decision on whether a kid were to feel like, hey, what opportunity is better for them. So how do you attack that? Like, is that a legit concern? Kids leaving to go to the CHL? Are you trying to get players from the CHL to come down to you? Like, how involved are you in the recruiting process?
Well, I mean, you're definitely involved. I mean, this is what it is, but you're involved. I mean, we got we got GM, we got the whole organization's part of it, and it's it is recruitment. And all you can do is speak from the heart and the truth. This is what you're gonna get. This is what we can provide. I'm not going to tell you, and the same thing is everything's earned. That's you're dealing with a couple old school guys that's part of life. It's not everything's given to you. Nothing's given to you. You got to go out and earn it. And yeah, if that's the route you got to take, you want to go to CHL. I went the CHL route. I can explain things a little bit better than other guys. I know times have changed, but no, it's a little different ballgame up there. You're talking about the USHL, which still is probably the best development league for players at this age. So in saying that, at the end of the day, when you're that age, you're hearing from all angles.
Mhm.
And I was there. You don't go here, you're probably not going to make it. If you don't, you're hearing, it is what it is. People trying to sell their programs. It's who you feel the most comfortable with, and who is going to make you a better player to the parents. And you can say all you want, but if you're actually showing, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do, this is how your kid's going to get better, this is the project. But also, what you see is what you get. I don't want you guys to come here and all of a sudden, oh, I was promised this. No, nothing's promised in hockey. It's earned. You'll get every opportunity, but it's up to you now. And that's going to be like that in your whole life. That's the whole message to parents and advisors. Hey, let the kid be. I don't want it more than the kid, because at one point the kid's he's got to want it more. And that's just, it's not a sales pitch or anything. It's just like, hey, this is what we can provide. We are, we think we're gonna get you got a guy that played, world class Hobie Baker winner, Mike Motto on D. I was okay at forward, and now here's how we learn. Here's where we compete against each other.
Yeah.
Got our other assistants coming in. So there's a lot that comes into it. I mean, but I think we get in trouble with the recruiting process when you're going to start promising stuff.
Yeah.
And then, then when the kid gets down here and maybe it's not a good fit or whatever. And now, well, I was promised this. Well, like I said, you're coming from, that's not how life works. And that's not how hockey works. You didn't promise anything. This is what makes you, you have to earn it. You have to go get it. You have to want it. And we're going to put you in the situation where you're going to have the best, you're going to get the best opportunity. You're going to get the best, but at the end of the day, it is up to you. I mean, and that's what we can offer. And I mean, like I said, I don't know if that's a good sales pitch, but, and then there's also, when you're sitting down with the kid and the advisor and you're showing them actually what were you going to work on? What this is there's always someone open. This is look where your body's at. This is the stuff you're going to learn. It's not just go in there 100% and play hard. And this is the stuff that I'm going to be on your ass every day until we get it. And then we're positive about it. And then we're going to, then we're laughing about it.
Yeah.
And then we get off the ice. You can, if you want to talk smack to me, you can, but it's coming back. But the kids got to feel good about themselves. They have to. Yeah. That's a big part, man. You got to understand that this is, it's confidence. It's a mind game that comes with this game. It's not just go out there. You have to be taught every day. Hey, you want this? Let's do it. But, and I'm going to show you how, but it's basically down. Nothing's given in this. I don't know if I went too far there, but you guys know me. I was down.
Listen, what are your expectations for these kids though? Like my kid's kind of going through it right now. How much should they be on the ice, you think, in the summer? I mean, listen, because in your era, and when I was growing up, I mean, you kind of you transitioned to baseball, you did other sports, and you weren't falling behind because nobody else was on the ice during the summer either. And so now some guys, and I see it where, they say, hey, my kid's not going to skate this summer, but it's okay if it was back in the day when nobody else was skating. But now if he's the only one that's not skating, you're going to fall behind. It's just the reality of the situation. So what's your recommendation to hockey dads who are listening and kids,
what are you falling behind in? That's my thing. It's what are you falling behind because you're going to stick handle through a bunch of gadgets and cones? Or you the guy that's going to go play baseball, going to do other things, learn other skills, body's moving different places. You're developing in different areas. And now when you go back, are you the most excited guy to get back on the ice?
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where I think things get taken away where, you're going to get left behind. Talent's talent. I mean, I didn't skate I had kids skate all summer. Good to go to all the rich camps and do that all the, I'd mop them up every time. Talent's talent. Maybe, I'm learning different. Maybe when I'm on the ball field, I'm still doing different movements, but I'm enjoying myself. It's not a business. It's not, and I understand these kids now that it's, they all take it, but I'd say, what are you doing on the ice though? You can get all the ice time you want. Who's, like I said, all these kids they can all stick handle. They can all, they can all play Instagram hockey, but are you learning the game? Are you learning who's open? Are you learning that you don't have to beat a guy 4 times? You beat a guy once, now you move it.
Yeah.
There's the play. There's the thing. And as it's coming from me in the old school, like, I can't believe these kids skate every day because you're not going to get fall. You're not going to get, that's just, there's your mindset. I'm going to fall behind because I don't go on the ice where it's almost like a job. And I'm sure they enjoy what they're doing. Yeah. But if you ever go in the summer, basically all they're doing is stick handling, doing moves. And okay, wow. And now you get a kid, you come play for me. Now you're going to get a kid that understands that's not how the game works. Mm-hmm. Someone's always open. You're going to get hit. It's your turn. Yeah. You have to put yourself in a position where it's a violent game. Are you protecting yourself? I see a lot of these kids, the way that, their heads down. I mean, I'm not saying there's any more Scotty Stevens, but Cam Jansen's on the ice. Yeah, you're going to get hurt, son. Because, but is that what you're doing every day? And I understand that this is part of it, the game, but that mindset kills me when you're going to get left behind. Well, did you ever ask some of us that made it? There was kids that skated beyond every, not to the point, but maybe didn't have their private instrument, but they skated, went to those camps everywhere. I mean, we couldn't afford it, but no, they didn't, you either got it or you wanted more. And what are you learning? Are you just going on the ice because my parents are making me and I got to go, my parents got to watch me in the summertime? Are you the kid that's actually enjoying yourself, playing ball, playing hoops, doing anything? And now, maybe, August, now the summer camp start, in the morning, but just right back on the ball field or doing whatever. And now when it revs up to September, are you the most hungriest kid? Because, I haven't been away. Now my toy's back. Now my addiction's back.
Yeah.
And now, that's my mindset. And I know you talk to, you talk to guys our age and stuff like that. We're all the same. But the falling behind part is, that's just an
fair.
excuse.
That's fair. And
Yeah.
you do see the skating so important, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how much are you evaluating a player's ability to skate? If they skate and they have that foundation, do you feel like the rest of the game can be coached? Or do you need the entire package? You got to have the hockey sense along with the skating. Can you improve the skating? Like, how do you look at the skating? How important is the skating aspect?
Like, it depends on what your game is. Now, if you're a guy that thinks you're going to go end to end and try to do, and you can't skate, well, we got a problem now. But there's guys that are going to go in the Hall of Fame, like my boy Joe Pavelski. Pav, he's not a great skater. Look at this guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's how many goals? He's 500 goals. He knows his areas. He knows his body position, what areas to get to.
Yeah.
So Pav ain't skating it all the way down. He's and that's where I think people get everything's such skating. Like right away, a kid gets knocked down because he doesn't have the skate or he doesn't well, he doesn't have to skate there. How about if he just get in a position where if we go, maybe he's just down low. Maybe that's where he gets his money. Maybe when he goes down low, he knows his body positioning and he'll get the puck every time because he knows where to hit, where his resistance is at. Well, I don't need him to skate all the way down with the puck. If anything, you get the puck in the neutral and give it up right away. Or, that's teaching, that's coaching because all the power skating, all the skating lessons. Yeah. I mean, but you do still have kids that's all they do. Well, okay, they're not improving on that. Well, why don't we teach them? Like I said, there's perfect example of guys that have not, that aren't the best skaters. Like Adam Oates, Hall of Famer, 4th in all-time assister. He wasn't a great skater.
Well, look at Matthew Tkachuk right now, right?
I mean, yeah, it's like so. I think people that don't know the game are like, oh, he can't skate. Well, what does he have to skate? If he's on a line with me, he ain't getting the puck. He's going to go in the areas where I need him. But I'm not expecting him to, that's fine. And if it's such a big issue with all these kids, how come someone has not become a billionaire yet and found out how to make someone skate? Maybe it is on the ice too much.
Yeah.
Maybe go on the ball field and, learn. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't, I guess I could skate, but I looked funny doing it. But, I think that's always a knock on a kid right away. He can't skate or he can't. Okay, well, we all can't do, it's not you don't need the full package to get there. It's what levels, but what area of the game can we get him in where he just dominates? Okay, he can't skate, but around down low, hash marks in, he's the best player in the league because he understands, his body. And he doesn't need to go fly down the ice. Every guy does not need to, and you said there's certain guys in the league now. They just need to get to that spot. Now this is where they take over.
Yeah.
In front of the battles.
And timing and all that, and knowing when.
Yeah, that comes with it.
Yeah.
That comes with it. And that's taught. That's taught. I mean, that's something we teach. Like those are the lessons. That's why it's fun to coach. That kind of stuff.
All right, you just had your camp a few weeks ago. Like, what are you seeing? Because obviously there's kids at the camp who will never play for you, whatever, but they're still good players and whatnot. But like, what are you seeing at the camp from kids this age right now in terms of what they're bringing to the table, and what are you looking for specifically?
I want to see who's going to fight and how many times they're going to fight. No, that's a joke.
You are old school.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do that. No,
You get fined. You get fined, man.
I was with Matthew Barnaby a week before the camp, so his camp story is incredible. I think he fought 36 times.
Oh my God!
And they told him it's an incredible story. If you ever get Barnaby on,
we have had him on, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's told that story or not, but
yeah, and it's 36 times or something like that, and they had to pull him aside and tell him, son, you can't fight anymore at this camp. He fought 4 more times, and they finally proved that, but that was different era. That was different.
Did you have any fights? Did you have any fights in your camp or even close to it?
No, these kids don't. I mean, no. I mean, they might slap, maybe with the gloves on, but that's, and you get these old school guys. You're like, you really want to see how you want to make the team. I mean, but it's a different era, and you would never tell a kid.
But are they
never
allowed to? I mean, are they scrimmaging and whatever? And
oh yeah. There's no, but never would ever tell a kid, any of these kids, go out there and fight, because that's how this world, man. When a kid get hurt or something, no, that's, and someone told me to go out there and fight. I ain't gonna do it. Like, really? How do you do that? Janny, different story.
Yeah.
But what you look for, what we look for, we tell them right away. If you think you're gonna make this team stick handle, not moving the puck, and trying to dangle through 6 guys and not do it and keep going, you're not gonna make this team.
Right.
What we're looking for is smarts. I want smarts. I want guys open, move it. Can you move the puck? Can you make the play? Can you take the hit? Little stuff here. Can you use, because we're going to learn all this, but, can we use our backhand? Are you using your backhand when the play's right there? How are you, and I think, and these kids are nervous. I mean, there's a bunch of, and we were new to it. So we had Tyler there and other guys helping us out. They have a good idea for the team. I mean, it's all new, but in saying that, there's still hockey instinct that you can look at and you can see like, okay, that kid, all right. Okay. And then you can see a kid that, yeah, he's got something, but he hasn't learned. Like, why aren't you moving that? You have a guy open there. That's the game. Move it. That's what I'm looking for. Because that's you want to go up with the better. You want to keep going up. That's what happens. Because when you play with the better players, you'll be shocked. You give them the puck, you're gonna get the puck back in certain areas. They're like, wow. And that's what these kids got to learn now. And that's why another thing, you have to play. You have to play. So if you think you're gonna go on to another league because it's quote unquote it looks better, and you're going to be on the 3rd and 4th line. Well, how's that developing? You're not practicing much in certain leagues where you have to play. You have to get your reps. You have to understand that because it doesn't matter if you're this league or whatever. When you play with better players, at one point older players, and you have the ability because you played, you didn't sit on the bench. And obviously a lot has to do with coaching, who you're with, but that's what kids need to understand too, is hey, you got to play this game. It might look sexy because I'm put here, but how much are you practicing? Are you just playing games? Because if you're just playing games, you're sitting on the bench. Well, and a lot of the things too is, age. Well, he'll get better at age. Another year. No, I don't work. It's now. I was 16 playing juniors, mopping guys up. My coaches taught me right away. The age is nothing. I don't want to hear it's next. Do it now. That's another message to the kids. Say it's now. It's now. Don't wait. Don't wait on anything before, and then I think a lot of people get tied up in that. Oh, next year he's going to develop next year. No. It's now. What's wrong with now? Care how old you are, the better kid's going to play. That's the rule. And that's, I think, it just, those are little things that kind of what I look for.
Yeah.
And I tell those kids, hey, I want to see it now. I don't care how old you are. I don't care. You're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And you got to do something to stick out because now the next camp comes. But if you ain't doing anything in this camp, well, what's going to happen when they cut more guys? Like, you got to stick out and doing something, whether it's playing defense, blocking shots, winning faceoffs. That's what Mott's is always, you have to establish something where it's, okay, that guy's great position in the D zone. All right. It's not all flashing goals. It's, you don't need 20 choir boys. Are you out there starting shit? Are you doing, you got to stand out. And I think when these kids go to camps, I don't think they realize that sometimes. It's like, hey, this is on. This is the real deal now.
Mm-hmm. What about hitting? Are you seeing kids hitting? Like, I mean, because that's a way to stand out too, right? Is playing physical. Do you see a lot of that?
I mean, you don't see it as much what it should be. Like, like I said, if I'm trying out for a team and maybe I'm not doing well, I was different, but I didn't know how to hit, but you bet your ass I'm going to go out there and hit. I'm going to do something. I'm going to take the body. I'm going to piss someone off where it stands out. Look at this guy. Every time he's out there, he pisses someone off. All right, we got some. All right, now the eyes are on you.
And he scores. And he scores.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but 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 you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So it's like kids, realize that this is real. Like, hey, I'm not saying do something stupid, cheaper, but you got to stand out. Whether, like I said, you're blocking shots and you are taking the body out.
Mm-hmm.
You are, now you got our attention. Now, okay, we need, because hey, it's a puzzle. You can't have 20 same guys. You got to have different things fitting in. We're gonna, you're gonna need that to be successful.
Hey, can you give me somebody who you either played with or played against? And listen, you won a Stanley Cup your rookie season and won the Calder and all that. But like I look at Sam Bennett, he just wins the Conn Smythe. He's a 54-point player in the regular season, completely different player in the playoffs, and he's about to get paid significant money. That would suggest he produces even more in the regular season. But anybody, I mean, Claude Lemieux was a guy that comes to mind who just had that reputation of being a gamer in the playoffs. But who do you think of? Who was that guy that you played with or against that just was a completely different animal to deal with in the postseason?
I'd like to say Bobby Holik, and you guys have him, but Bobby was Bobby. There ain't no turning that machine off. He was, but he hyped his game up. Claude Lemieux, like you said, until you see it live, man, the way this guy just upped it. It was unbelievable. I don't two guys that probably won't get credit, but I saw their games, and you can look back. Hey, we lost, but he was amazing. Colorado was missing Forsberg, but Randy McKay when it was playoff time, Randy McKay would you know you look at he was always there with the big goal. Was always he upped his game. Like he was a playoff guy, and that's why. And that's the thing you tell these kids. You want to get paid. It's playoffs. Because it is. And then another guy that the numbers would never show it, but the intangibles this guy did on all points on and off the ice, and he'll never get credit for it. But at least if you played and you've got the rings like that, is Jay Pandolfo.
Oh man,
His Pando's game was. I mean, people forget like in games 6 and 7 with Dow. I mean, he's on the first two lines. Just because he, when it was on, you put Pando there everywhere, and he's killing penalties. Him and John Madden are probably two best penalty killers, but they're out there in every key situation where if you go back and look, Jay's one of them. And I think the best hockey I ever saw, a guy that took his game to another level was during the playoffs, and I mean it was incredible to watch. I think. Especially the first cup was Patrick Eliash. I mean, we're talking. I remember me and Jay were on the bench, and I think it was against Philly or something. And me and Pando were like Patrick Eliash is top 3 in the world right now. That's how good this guy was. I mean, it was. I never forget that me and Jay were literally like. Forgot who else was like the way that he is playing right now. He's top 3 in the world. And I mean, that was incredible to see Patty. And we won that cup because of that line. But Eliash, I mean, it was, you speak of playoff performances that you saw. I mean, it was incredible to watch Patty that year.
All right, a couple more things for you, and I'll let you go. But I mean,
That's fine.
you did say at the beginning that you're not using this job as a stepping stone, but you are Scotty Gomez. You played a long time in the NHL. You've got connections everywhere throughout the league. And as long as you continue to coach, and if you want to coach at the next level or at the NHL level, you're going to be able to find yourself behind an NHL bench, as an assistant or whatever. Not even talking about it as a head coach. Is that something that would interest you down the road? Like, I mean, would you want to coach at the NHL? Do you want to coach college? I mean, do you like just coaching this age group? I mean, how do you look at your future?
You guys, I think you know me long enough now. Like, I'm kind of a one, and I'll see what happens after the year kind of thing. I mean, I got a commitment. Still a great organization, but I would never put myself in a position where I would go coach if I didn't know, if I didn't know the head coach personally.
Okay.
I would never ever do that again. And it's not because, I'm in a different situation where, I understand if you had to do it, you have to do that. But that's another thing. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do this. And I would never, I've done it before and it was a great experience, but at the same time, this is supposed to be fun for, you're supposed to be, this is your locker room. This is your team with another coach. Like you're supposed to be, and just to not have being on the same page, it's tough. Where you're with someone that doesn't believe in the same things you do, and now every day you're just not bickering, but it's just like, and then you don't need that. I don't want that, and that's a lot of it. That's a lot of in the league. That's why I said I go. I'm so passionate and happy about this because I got lucky with Mott's. I got to be with one of my closest friends, and I mean like I said, it's he takes care of this, I take care of this, and we just go at each other. But it's fun going to work every day, and I think I did all that struggle. I did all the I made it to the top, and it's tough, but to go to work every day and not be happy at this level. I mean, I'm not saying it's all rosy. I'm not saying we go every day, but I would never ever. No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. And like when I told the Chicago Steel, I was like, before we even start this, like, yeah, Mike Motto would have to come with me because it's more gratifying. It's more rewarding when you're with someone that you trust. That you you don't have to be super. I mean, we're close friends, so we have a good time anyway. But you kind of phone sounds around the rink.
There's a lot of guys that are like that. I mean, NHL coaches that they bring their assistants with them everywhere they go. I mean, so Steve Spottis left Pete DeBoer. He's been with Pete DeBoer pretty much everywhere, and now he's going to Boston. But Ken Hitchcock used to always bring that Rick Wilson with him. There's a lot of guys. I mean, Paul Maurice now has Jamie Compon with him. That was Joel Quenneville's guy. Now it's Paul Maurice's guy. He's won 4 Stanley Cups between Quenneville Daryl
Yeah.
Sutter, and now Paul Maurice. I mean, sometimes, and he's not a household name, right? But he's been around for a long time, and there's a reason why these guys are with Hall of Fame coaches, no matter where they go. Because of
Yeah, I mean, and you need that, and I learned that. I mean, like I said, I had a great experience with the Islanders. It was fun, but uh, maybe a different thing in life where I don't need it. Like, I'd only do this if I literally knew the person where they know who I am.
hmm
If I tell you to F off because I don't believe in this, you ain't taking it personal. You ain't, it's supposed to be that way. It's hockey. We're in a hockey locker room. We're supposed to have fun, but if you're bickering and you're not agreeing with something, and it's also whether you like it or not. I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't know much in life, but this is one thing. This is like I tell the players, I tell them all the time. If our lives depend on it, and we have a spelling bee or a math competition, you do not pick me. You understand, guys? You do not pick me.
hmm
But if NASA needs to get the Apollo 13 back and it's the equivalent of the ice, yeah, you better come run to me because I'm gonna. So the players, you know what I mean? Like you can't have it all.
Yeah.
But you can't have it all. But hey, this is something I know. I mean, this is something like I said. I work with Adam Oates pretty close. I mean,
Yeah.
that's who my mentors and just learning that from the game and not taking anything away from anyone. But
No.
but yeah, there's this is why I'm enjoying this so much.
Yeah. No, we love
because I always want to see if it work.
OT, and you mentioned Jay Pandolfo. I know Dougie Way, my boy. He's always talked highly about
Oh.
you. Like who do you call? Who do you go to, Scotty? If you have questions, hockey concepts, or you just want to talk, like, should I take this job? This offer is there. Do you have your go-to guys?
Definitely. Adam Oates, Bobby Holik, Pando, Turner Stevenson, and Jim McKenzie. I mean, I go to those guys. I mean, Ken Danico, but they're all different things I would go to for. So like hockey, like I said, it's hockey. It's Adam Oates, light. I mean, Bobby Holik. Anything in life I need. Same thing with hockey's Bobby, Pando. Of course, anything. Jim McKenzie's more advice if I need stuff that because Big Mac was always kind of knew how to calm me down. Turner Stevenson same way. Like, all right, let's not get rash. Let's. So yeah, I've always had a great supporting system when it comes to that. And there's other guys too, like Aaron Schneeklaff. We played junior together. Our relationship just came back after a year, and I went to him for a lot of advice. He just got the assistant coach at the Kraken, Keith McCambridge. He was our captain. He was one of the best captains I ever played for, and that was in the East Coast League during the lockout. So, and he's a coach in I think Bakersfield or one of those played in the A. And what a leader! So, and I've always gone to him.
Who's
I needed some advice.
the best coach you ever had that you played for?
Best coach I ever had was Adam Oates.
Okay.
Adam Oates is in another level, meaning just the hockey wise, and like just
So smart.
I was a better player at 35 than I was ever playing for that guy. And Larry Robinson, Slav Fetisov,
Okay.
right up there. They were I mean, unbelievable. I've had some bad ones, that's for sure. But and then Pat Burns, the late great Pat Burns. He you talk about a guy that I don't think I ever hated more than anything in life, and became to love the man. And I think that's why I'm a little asshole at sometimes people say because of Pat Burns. Like he was a guy that he really, he showed me like, he taught me how to get to that level, meaning like, here we go. And I mean, Burns, he was up there, and then there's all special ones, but I was lucky as a kid, man. I had great coaching that got me to the next level. That's the whole point of this. Can the guy get you to the next level? Whether it's a guy that doesn't know anything, but he's going to build your confidence every day, then I need that. Or if there's a guy that the X's and O's guy that's actually going to explain stuff, you've got to get better. And that's the whole point of it. My job is to get these kids out of here as quick as possible. And for them to come back and say, wow, what a year. Like, this is what I learned.
All right, last thing for you. Did you watch the Stanley Cup final? I'm just curious how you look at this Florida Panthers team in comparison to some of the great Stanley Cup organizations we've seen over the last 20.
I always make it an example. I always like to watch the clinching game if I can, just because that's the one that brings back the most memories, and on both sides. So I was in Montreal and we watched it, and I was with family friends, and it was about 10 minutes to go, and he was asking questions that he thought would bother me. And I was like, no. And I was like, here's what's going on both sides. Florida's getting ready to party. Edmonton's already, you just can't believe this is happening because, like I said, we had that in Colorado. It's just like this is the families are going to start working their way down here, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of good. But when you look at that Florida team, I mean, what was wrong with Edmonton? It's like, hey, they're nothing. I mean, Florida was just that stacked. I mean, wow. And I mean, and when you win one and you've been there, they've been the last three, you don't get rattled. You understand that it's just there is, anything you throw at them, they could respond. They had the right players. Their big boys showed up, and then their third and fourth line guys were, those are the guys you need. Those are the guys you need the big goal from, because when those guys are getting the goals, the other team is, you're expecting the top guys, but when you got those other guys that keep putting it in the net, I mean, hey, there's nothing you can do. I mean, they're a powerhouse, and that just wears on you. And yeah, McDavid, Drysdale, I mean, two of the best. I mean, those guys are so fun to watch. But that's when you need the other guys to kind of, the pressure's got to get off. And that's why you look at the great teams that have won cups. It's usually the third and fourth line guys that come through because there is no pressure on them to score. And when they get in that rhythm, all right. And if they don't score, they don't hear it from the media. It's the top dogs that once you start not getting it, now you're going to start hearing from the media. Now you're going to start, it just starts rolling like that. So the third and fourth line guys have to take the pressure off. And you look at that Florida team, I mean, geez, it just is nonstop. And they won. They know what it takes. Never got rattled. And experience goes a long way. It goes a long way because you have no idea when you get to that level, the emotions that are going. Because, I mean, why is it that usually the team that scores the first goal in those clinching games wins? Mm-hmm. Because you've been on both sides of the bench. It is like, and it's dramatic. And like, it's like you don't score right away. Now all you're thinking on this side is if they get another one, oh my God, if they get another one, if they get it, like we have to get it now. We have to get it now. And that's why getting that first one, it's now you're basically like, okay, let's, it just, it's so hard to explain unless you're on the bench. Like it just calms you down beyond. I mean, you're jacked up beyond, like, I don't know if I've ever been since, and being on that bench, but once that first goal comes, it's been on both sides of it. It is that value to get that first one. And it sounds dumb because it's a cliche, but unless you've been on those both benches, oh brother, I'm telling you right now, it just takes you to another level. You get to go down or you're up. We're like, okay, we got the lead. Okay, all right, here we go. Now we can play. On the other side, oh my God, if they get another one, now we're, so yeah. But I mean, that's a. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, if because the goal, and that's a lot of hockey they played.
I know.
I mean, that's a lot of hockey. I mean, we made those runs, and after we lost that Colorado, we took a back seat. I mean, we got Larry fired, which was awful. I mean, we went through a depression as a team. Wow. Like it was just like we couldn't even talk to you. I mean, the next year was weird. It was weird. I mean, we just could not believe we had it in our grasp in Game 6, and then so people don't realize that company. I mean, and then after we won the first one, we knew we were kind of like Florida. I mean, we knew we were that good. It's I don't want to sound too cocky to say, but I remember Mogilny, Mogilny was like, as long as the A line keeps scoring, we have to back them up. And he's like, we're going back to the finals. There's just no team that can, and Toronto kind of gave us some trouble, and Carolina, but we were just ahead of the game like that. And that's a good feeling. So you look at Florida and you're like, even Edmonton going down in the series LA. I mean, were they really nervous? I mean, they've been there. Just takes it. The experience comes in so key factor when you get to those moments.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, big shout out to you, man. Congrats on landing your next gig. I think it's great for the USHL to have somebody like you in the league too. My kid plays in Chicago all the time. We go to these tournaments, whatever. I may hit you up and come to a game or a morning skate and bring the kids down or something like that.
That's one thing about it is you're more than welcome. Kids come on the ice, and that's one thing that's cool about the Chicago Steel. It's like that's what we want. Like, because at the end of the day, it is about I don't know if your kid will be any good because of his last name, but we want him to go. We want his goal to be like, hey, I got to hang out with the Chicago Steel guys. That's my goal. Because we all need that. We all have that as that age.
No doubt.
Man, my goal is to go to Omaha. Like all the older guys, they all went to the USHL. That was my goal. And then you see the college guys, and so and then there's nothing better when these kids, you bring your kids in the locker room, they'll be treated like gold. You know that because that goes a long way, and that's the way we want it in Chicago, and it's going to be that way. But the best organizations are the ones that it is about these kids, but it's also their job. My players is that when we have guests in the room, hey, we treat them like gold because that's part of the tradition of hockey.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll be in touch. Congrats on getting this gig. All the best, man. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
All right, anything you need, you know that.
All right, we got set, Scotty. Take care, man.
All right, bye.
All right, David Novak. You hear me talk about David every week, both on Cam and Strick as well as here on Hockey Sense. 314-920-5713. He's got the hat. He's got the shirt. He's busy. I couldn't get this guy into studio because he's been so busy as of late. It's good to be busy.
It's good to be busy. It
You're
is.
not complaining about being busy.
I'm not complaining about being busy. No, just complaining to complain.
When you see the weather forecast
Mm-hmm.
and all the rain and all the weather we've been having, first off, when you have that much rain, I mean, that's got to impact your ability
Oh yeah,
to get on top of roofs and to do work. Right?
yeah, absolutely.
So how far behind has that pushed you with all this rain we've been getting?
I mean, I use ABC Delivery or ABC Building Supply for it's where I buy my materials and everything. They're 2 to 3 weeks out on just delivering it once I give them an order, and then once it's ordered and delivered, I hope to get to it within a week. But with all the rain, and I'm a little overprotective. If they call for 20%, like the other day, all these major storms that were going to roll in on Wednesday,
Yeah.
I shut everything down. No builds, waiting, nothing happened.
And nothing happened.
But it's better safe than sorry.
I know. So the storm damage, though, here in this area, I mean, has just been devastating for a lot of people. You know, I mean, what are you seeing when you're out there?
I'm seeing a lot of hail damage, a lot of wind damage, and that's from the March 14th storm. Then we also had another one in May. I think it was around the 16th or the 20th. I'm getting my dates mixed up. But I mean, we're working on the Metro East side and in the St. Louis area, specifically south of St. Louis. I've gotten a few calls for the tornado on May 16th.
Yeah.
But we're just so booked up right now. There's other companies that are closer to them that can help them out
Yeah.
rather than me. And I've got a 5-man team, but we're booked out a week in advance. You know, I'm telling homeowners when you we'll call you to get something scheduled. We can usually get there within a day or two. Now, if they got an emergency repair, we push that
You'll
up
get
and
there.
get that taken
Yeah.
care of a little sooner.
Okay, good. So they'll take care of you. 314-920-5713. Mostly roofing. Is it siders or what?
Roofing.
Siding? What is it?
Roofing, siding, gutters, fascia.
Soffit.
Nah, soffit don't get damaged by hail. That's maybe usually a win.
If I say fascia, I say soffit. You know?
Exactly. I have the tendency to do that too as well. So
Okay. All right. So the Stanley Cup final, what'd you think of that?
my prediction came true.
Yeah.
I figured it would be Florida.
Mhm.
I was rooting for Florida. I don't know. Just the McDavid Draisaitl thing, I'm over it. And you've got there 2 years in a row. If you can't break through, they need to rethink the whole thing.
Yeah.
I honestly, they're in Toronto situation. You can't pay the top players, but you have no supporting cast, no depth. Florida won it on their depth, plain and simple.
Yeah, and they're all good players.
Exactly.
You know, so
Exactly.
and they all kind of fit in. When you watch Florida play, do you say, "Well, St. Louis isn't that far away," or do you think, "Hey, they got a lot of work to do"?
I still see some similarities. I still think we got not a lot of work, but some more work to do. You know, I hear the rumor mill and everything. Oh, we need another center. I'd rather just give it to Dvorsky and let him grow into it. I mean, I understand center. That's a lot of responsibility for a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
Who just turned 21.
Yeah.
You know,
20.
20. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, he's young, man. I mean,
Very.
people need to realize that. And I think listen, to be a top 6 center in the NHL, there's a lot of
And I'm not saying put him in,
responsibility that comes with that.
and I'm not saying put him in the top 6 right now. I wouldn't even mind if they moved him to a wing just like they did with Thomas back in 19.
Yeah.
You know,
So I don't think they're looking to, like, if they add a center, it's not a guy that they're signing for 8 years.
exactly.
It's a guy that can
But I
be
mean-
that holdover until Dvorsky's ready. Not that he's going to spend the next several years in the minors. They'll get him up here.
They'll get him up here.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he made the team this season, to be honest with you.
I hope so. But if he makes the team, they got to play him.
Yeah.
They can't have him as a healthy scratch and learn. You know, I just assume if you're going to sign another center, and if that's what the game plan is, which I'm fine with, don't go over 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't go over 2 years. And I mean, I really like Pius Sutter. That's who I would go after.
Pew Suter.
Yeah.
It's hard to say the name.
It is. Hughes.
Yeah, no, he'd be a good player. Michael Granlund's the guy they're looking at. I mean, there's some.
I am not a big Granlund.
No, you don't like Granlund? He's got some great speed.
He's got some good speed
can
and
finish.
everything. I know, but I think he's towards the end of his career. I think he's looking for too much money.
Yeah, he'll get more than $5 million.
He'll get more than 5, and that's to me, I don't see. I wouldn't do that.
Mhm.
But I think I think trades might be the best option
Yeah.
for us than the free
Which
agent
is
market.
which is an area of strength, I think, for Doug Armstrong. He's always looking
Yeah,
to wheel and deal. So we'll see what happens. Where do you stand on the whole Kyrou?
I say keep him. I mean,
Yeah.
if you get rid of him, you got to find somebody that is capable
Well,
of
I
his
said
points.
if you're gonna move, you need 30 goals coming back,
Correct.
and
And he
he's
has
coming off his best season too.
yeah, and he has been playing defense
Yeah.
much better. Now, not all the time. And one of my buddies, he is going to crucify me for this, but keep Kyrou, Stu. Keep him.
Keep him. I'm with you too, and I don't think he played as bad as people
No.
say in the playoffs. He took that one hit, didn't leave the game. He was obviously banged up after
Oh, yeah.
that, but still
Yes.
scored some big goals. And
Sure he did.
he gives you that element of speed, which is
We're
something you need.
fickle fans, and everybody used to get on Bouwmeester all the time.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
Bouwmeester. I said, you got to have somebody that stays
And
in.
now he's a legend, right?
Exactly.
Now he's a legend.
Exactly.
I know. So you got the draft coming up. They only have a couple of picks
Yeah.
this year, but then prospect camp. You ever get out to prospect camp?
I hardly ever do.
Mhm.
I've been there once a couple of years ago, where I went to the Centene Center, and it was a good time, and it was fun to watch. And I'm jotting down notes, you
Yeah.
know, I'm keep an eye on that guy. I like the way he played, and then half of them you never even hear
I
from
know.
him
I know,
ever.
but I do highly recommend if you're looking for hockey in July.
Yeah.
It's the best option available,
Yeah.
and it's fun to watch.
And my stepbrother used to go to he used to take his vacation every year to go to the NHL draft.
Oh, really?
That was his vacation every year.
Although this year, I don't think you're going to see scrimmages and stuff like that. You're not going to see a night game. I mean,
No.
it's going to be a completely kind of a different situation, smaller group than what we've seen
Yeah.
in recent years.
Well,
but
and as he's getting older too,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have the time
Yeah.
and everything to do that anymore. But so
okay, so good stuff. So you don't have a dream scenario, somebody that you say, hey, I'd love for the Blues to bring this guy on board.
there's a few out there, but I don't want to jinx it, knock on
Yeah.
wood. So I
Okay.
won't say anything, but I'm keeping an eye out on a few players. I'm interested to where they're going to go.
Mhm.
Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to get a Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
We can't afford Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
And everyone complains about Kyrou. Well, Marner doesn't play a lot of defense either, and he's not playing in the corners as often
But
too.
you put him with a different
A different
core, different
Yeah.
group of players. Like maybe you're not focusing on the negative as much with him. So-
exactly. I mean, that he'd be the only guy I'd give up Kyrou
Yeah.
for.
Did you real quick last thing? Were you happy with the way the season went? I mean, obviously into
Yes.
the postseason and
I was. I mean, I
some
suffered.
great playoff games.
I
you know?
suffered from dumb face for about 2 weeks after we lost.
Yeah, it's tough.
Against Winnipeg, and everyone would ask me about it, and I go, I don't have an answer.
Mhm.
It is what it is. We were the worst team in the NHL on 6-on-5
Yeah,
throughout the whole year.
I know.
That's something that just has to be improved on, and it's kind of hard to improve on it when you're in the playoffs already.
Yeah,
That had to be.
Edmonton had some issues with that too.
They did. They did.
It's hard, man, when you play against teams that are loaded with talent.
Yeah.
And you have the extra tech. These guys are so good in terms of being able to.
And how long
chances.
were we on the ice for that 6-on-5?
Yeah, as well. Yeah,
We were
Couple minutes.
tired.
Yeah,
At least 2.
yeah, a couple minutes for sure.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Again, 314-920-5713. And you answer the phone right there. They'll
Yeah.
get you.
If I don't answer, I call back within depending on where I'm at and what
Yeah.
I'm doing, I will call you back within 24 hours.
Well, I'm glad you're busy. We love having you on board, man. It's been great talking about you and having you be a partner with us too. And I love the fact that you're busy. So you may not like being busy all the time,
No,
but you know what? It's a good thing to be busy.
it works. It's working out just fine.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
working out just fine.
Call my buddy David Novak. You hear me say that all the time. 314-920-5713. Thanks for coming in.
No problem, Andy. Thank
Appreciate
you,
it, as
buddy.
always, yeah. All right, back here on the Hockey Sense. I hope you enjoyed the show today. It's always great to catch up with different people, man. Scotty Gomez, a big shout out to him. Listen, this is why I love doing the show all year round, because it gives you an opportunity to bring in some of these, different people who are doing things throughout the hockey world. And for the USHL to get a guy like Scotty Gomez to come in and coach the Chicago Steel, who have a long history of success and excellence, man. They've been getting big-time players into their organization the last several years. There's a reason for that. And so Scotty should be a great fit, man. I wish him all the best from a coaching standpoint. Jamal Mayers, who joined us earlier in the show. Listen, next week we're going to go hardcore into free agency. I know some of you, you tune in like you want to know what's going on, what's going to happen. Listen, we're on June 20th right now. So we're more than a week away from free agency. By this time next week, we're going to truly be able to not just speculate, but have, a good sense of what may or may not happen. So um, we'll do that next week here on Hockey Sense. So looking forward to that as always. Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community. We love our friends over at First Community. So many options for you, including a job. Are you looking for a job? First Community, they're hiring. Join the team at First Community. Everything from entry-level management positions all the way up to the higher level positions, executive positions. First Community, equal opportunity employer, great benefits, including 11 paid holidays. Are you kidding me? Pay vacation, 401k, pension plan, employee health and dental insurance is provided at no cost. I mean, you don't have to pay for it. Learn more at firstcommunity.com about upcoming job fairs and get started on your next career at First Community. Great place to work. Dirt cheap, fun, your one-stop party shop. Of course, Lordo's Diamonds. Blue Note Roofing. We always appreciate David Novak for coming in. Love our conversations with David. Everything he's been doing. Gutters, soffit, fascia, siding, roofing, whatever it is you're looking for. Storm damage. Let him come out and take a look. Give you that free estimate, get you taken care of, works with all the big-time insurance companies. So we love it when David Novak comes into the studio. Again, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Of course, Travel House, travelhouse.com. That's Haus. Just had a great vacation in Mexico. Thanks to our friends over there at Travel House, Gail and her entire company, all her team. Just doing some fantastic stuff, and we absolutely love it. They have so many options for you to consider over there at Travel House. They're an award-winning travel agency, number one, but they're focused on the client experience, which I can speak firsthand. The type of client experience you get from Travel House, Gail and her team, unbelievable. 314-842-6000, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays from 10 to 2. You can check them out online, travelhouse.com. Always a good time to get away. Jamaica, Mexico, Dominican Republic, beach vacations, ski vacations, spring break, all-inclusives, whatever it is, travelhouse.com. So check that out. Call Gail today. Again, 314-842-6000, 314-842-6000. LordosDiamonds.com, all our friends at Lordos. But again, we love being here at Half Coast Studios. Would not be possible without our friends over there at First Community. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. Hardcore free agency talk coming your way next week here on Hockey Sense. Have a great weekend, everybody.